this idea of past lives is that we choose our parents. Our soul is choosing the parents that we need to take us on the journey we're meant to have in this lifetime. And I love that concept. I did not grow up. I mean, if I had talked about past lives as a little girl, they would have burned me for a witch.
Sin. You're sinning.
You're a sinner. I love this color on you.
Red?
Yeah, it's really nice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, it's always, I feel like I'm always wanting to have more color in my wardrobe, but then I don't feel like I can ever find anything that I'm like, I've done it. So I just end up wearing the same like 3 tones.
Can I tell you what it is? It's LA.
Okay.
You can't buy anything with color in LA.
You're right, because it's not cool. It's not what the cool kids do.
It's not what the cool kids do. And I'm the same way. I don't mind wearing black or white, but I get really bored.
Yeah. Well, and I think when it's on camera, it always will look better if there's a pop of color.
I do too.
Yeah. So I'm just inevitably in like a sweatshirt or something.
I know. I started ordering, or I have for a long time, like done Stitch Fix.
Yeah. Oh, do you do that? Okay.
I do. And I do it because I'm too busy.
Thank you. Sorry, I have long nails right now.
And I'm too lazy.
I'm like a child.
And I hate style because I'm not.
I hate shopping. I hate shopping.
Oh my God, I hate it so
much.
much.
It's my least favorite thing.
So I just get shirts from them.
That's great. That's just like, because it's all you
5
need.
Shirts.
Because like we know what jeans we're gonna wear,
Totally.
so we just need to swap out the top.
Yeah, it's just a shirt.
I just got, the girls who do my hair just told me about a personal shopper that I reached out to, because I'm like, that would change my life. Honestly, if someone would just buy clothes for me, I could try them on at home, and then I could just give back whatever I don't want is my literal dream.
If you like her, is it a her?
It's a her, yeah.
If
I
you
will
like her, will you share?
absolutely send along, yeah.
Because I went to a personal shopper once, and it was probably the single most upsetting event of my entire life.
No way.
I swear.
Here in LA?
Here in LA.
Okay.
She was referred to me by Chef Antonia. I don't know if you know who she is. She's a
she was on.
Yep, she's a friend, and she was like, "I have this shopper. I love her so much," and she was busy, so she referred me to a colleague, and the colleague did not understand my body at all.
No.
Like I'm a petite. Like I wear petite clothing looks best on me.
Yes.
And the stuff she put me in, she would bring it in the dressing room, and I'd go like, "That is not gonna work."
Yeah, you're like, "There's no way."
And she'd go, "Just try it." I just try it. I mean, that's why you hired me is to try it. And I would put it on and go, I think I'm going to actually like throw myself off the nearest cliff. This is horrible.
Right.
I was so traumatized. Everything she put on my body did not fit my body. Like, like I have great legs.
Right.
And I have great boobs.
Right. So you're like, let's show off what we got.
Come
show
on
off the
now.
assets.
Give me legs and boobs.
Yeah.
Everything was like tailored in the middle. And so then I go, I look like a barrel. Am I going over the Niagara Falls?
Right.
What the heck?
Right. I always feel like when I try on clothes, I look like I'm wearing my mom's clothes as a little girl. Because you'll know this if you're short.
Yep.
Nothing fits.
Nope.
The smallest size, the shortest, I still feel like I'm swimming in it. So everything has to be tailored if I want it to fit at all.
Yep.
And then like my body fluctuates throughout the month. So I've got like my period pants on today because they're, you need a little extra room. But it's so frustrating.
Isn't it?
Then like I just end up wearing, like you said, the same things over and over and over.
Same.
And then I see people on Instagram and I'm like, oh, I wish. I want to like have that cute outfit, but I don't. Every once in a while I'll do a big shop online and I'll just think, okay, I'm going to bring it all in, try it on at home, send it back. And inevitably I keep like 2 items.
Yeah.
So it's so annoying.
I do the same thing. Such a time suck, isn't it?
Yeah, seriously.
It's a time
suck. I feel like it's one of those things that we just need a solution. And if we have a solution for, it would change our lives.
What we need is more petite options.
Absolutely.
I mean, you cannot buy anything in petite.
Especially pants. Pants is the bane of my existence. Because you can cheat a top. You can do a half tuck. You can tie it in a knot. You can do whatever. But pants are where it really stresses me out.
Pants and that, you remember when maxi dresses were in?
Yes.
Forget it.
Yeah, you're
Could
like
not
wearing
do
a
it.
nightgown.
Yeah.
Well, and with pants too, even sometimes the petite options, it still like goes down to here on me and it doesn't, and it's all big. And then all of a sudden it wasn't popular to have like high-waist skinny jeans anymore, which is basically all I want in my life.
Right?
I know there's that whole thing on the internet about how it makes us like old or whatever if we want high-waist. I don't care.
I don't either.
I don't care.
Nope.
when I take these pants off, this is going to pop like a can of instant biscuits.
Oh,
you know,
yep.
I need something to hold me in.
Totally.
And I feel like, you know, an old woman that I can't wear these giant pants that I'm like, I did that.
Yep.
I did that in freshman year of high school, that I wore those pants. I already did this. I don't want to do it.
I don't either.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
It back.
The high-waisted pants is the Gen X girdle. That's what
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You may not be Gen X. You may be too young, but I am a Gen X.
Yeah.
And I go, that is the perfect girdle.
Exactly. That's what this is what we all need. It's like if you carried a baby in your stomach, unless you've had some help surgically, you need something to like suck it all in.
Yes.
Yeah.
You do. Isn't it crazy how your body changes?
Absolutely.
Just wait till you get in your 50s. I'm way older than you.
I was thinking about this as I was driving over, because when I was here last time, we talked about menopause. And I am definitely perimenopausal. But unfortunately, that could happen for like 15 years, which is the suck.
I was for a long time.
But so you're in it now. And I remember last time you saying that you were like, there's sometimes it's like really hard. Is that the emotional piece, the physical component? Because I'm like waiting for, I'm like, if I could go through menopause today, I would start it. Because I'm like, let's just get this wrapped up. Yeah. What parts of it are hard for you to navigate?
It has changed throughout the years. I was perimenopausal for a long time. Okay. I probably at least 10 years, a long time. And in the beginning, it just started with like night sweats, which disrupts your sleep.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can do about it, right? You just got to sweat it out, change your clothes, move on with your night. But now I'm on hormone replacement therapy now.
Okay.
And I am very glad for it. It has positively changed so many parts of menopause. I'm not on it for menopause per se. I'm on it because I had long COVID, and my long COVID like just screwed up my hormones. Like,
whoa,
my testosterone was in the toilet. So much so the doctor was like, you can't actually get this out of the toilet without some help. Kind of like when you're depressed and you need you need antidepressant for a minute to get yourself out of that deep hole, and then you can manage and cope.
Wow.
My hormonal system was not able to pull everything kind of back up after I had COVID.
And how do you know if your testosterone's low?
What are the regular blood work.
Oh, it wasn't like you were having something happen.
Oh, I was having something happen, yes.
Oh, okay.
So I had COVID in December, and my first day of being positive, I had bowel problems. And the bowel problems were extreme. I was going to the bathroom like 10 times a day by 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning.
Holy crap.
And
literally,
holy shit. So, and I drink a gallon of water a day at least. I work out 3 days a week. I eat very healthy. And I started gaining weight, still using the bathroom like that. And I went to the doctor, I had a colonoscopy, had stool samples, had full run. I went to 2 different doctors, got 2 opinions, and both of them were like, I don't know.
Which is always what we want our doctors to say.
I was like, I can't, I'm pooping my literal brains out every day. By March, it had calmed down to like 6 times a day with less urgency.
Wow.
But for 3 months, I was like, I couldn't leave my house.
That's nuts.
It was awful. And again, started first day of COVID.
Was that this year?
That was, this December will be 2 years ago.
Okay.
So that December, March, I had all these tests run. Everybody was like, I don't know. So I'm just trying to manage it. And then Bert had said to me, I think you need to go see Rogan's guy in Texas. So I did. And his woman doctor, whatever her title is, she looked at my blood work and went, oh, yeah, this is all COVID related. And you have this much inflammation. All 4 of your hormones are in the toilet. It's overworking your thyroid. This is why you're gaining weight. Your body is trying to go in menopause, but I was still on birth control because I had never gone into menopause. And my doctor had said, don't get off birth control until your period has stopped. Well, Rogan's doctor was like, your period's not going to stop because you're on birth control.
Yeah.
So you need to get off the birth control.
So that you can go in.
So that you can just go ahead and go into menopause. So I did exactly what that doctor said. And the doctor told me it's going to take about 18 months to get my shit back together.
Wow.
And October was when I first saw them. October will be 12 months. And I've lost a ton of weight. I'm sleeping again. I went into menopause immediately when I stopped taking my birth control. As soon as I stopped, I had no more periods. gone. That was
holy crap.
Over. And the bowel stuff, what they explained to me was that COVID is an inflammatory disease that affects all of your internal organs. Every internal organ is inflamed when you have COVID. Some people have that settle in their brain. Some people have it settle in their lungs. And some people it settles in their intestines.
Wow.
Mine went to my bowels. And so long COVID, I have another friend who had long COVID who had terrible pulmonary problems. We were basically having the same problem in a different organ.
Area of the body. Mm-hmm. Wow.
And it took her a very long time to get hers straightened out. And I don't think mine would have straightened out if I hadn't found this doctor who said, hey, your testosterone is a joke.
Wow.
So, and your testosterone and your thyroid are teammates. So if your testosterone is low, your thyroid's overworking, which would make you think you'd be really skinny. But that's not true. It's working so hard just to keep your testosterone going that you start gaining weight.
Yeah.
So it was a gift. But in saying that, the hormone, now that I've had the hormone replacement therapy, my sleep is improved. I wasn't sleeping at all. I mean, like not at all.
And that'll make you feel crazy.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It's horrible.
It will make you feel so sick.
Yeah.
And in menopause, my libido was gone.
Yeah.
I mean, for 10 years, I was like, yeah, we'll get to that when we get to that. And then now that I'm in menopause, I'm like, let's get to that like yesterday.
Oh, good.
It's really insane how
That's
that
good.
shifted.
Yeah.
And I'm sure some of that has to do with the hormone therapy I'm on.
Yeah.
But I wonder if, because in perimenopause, I was just like, pass.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hard pass. I have a lot of brain fog. And I think that is menopause. I was just talking to the ladies downstairs about that. Like, I don't remember what the last chapter I read in your book was. And I had to go back and look at it again and go, oh, yeah, now I remember.
Wow.
But if you just asked me point blank, hey, what about this chapter? I'd go, need to look at that for a minute.
Yeah. So that's a new thing.
That's very new. And I think that's from menopause.
Okay.
I do not go anywhere without a fan.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot describe a hot flash like a menopausal hot flash.
And I've heard so many people say this because I think you see stuff on like TV or whatever and it's like a joke. But the women I know who've gone through it, like, it's horrible. It is horrible.
You want to physically get out of your body.
Wow.
Like, I almost have a fight or flight response.
I bet.
Like, I got to get out of here. Like, I'm on fire. And a fan, it just takes the edge off so that your body can kind of process through it.
Okay.
The anxiety, I think it triggers, makes the hot flash last longer. So if you have some kind of, or for me anyway, I have some kind of control over helping myself, just the act of going like, okay, pulling myself down, it'll kind of dissipate a little faster.
Wow.
But I know women who've had no symptoms at all through menopause. I know women who've had, not to get too graphic, but extreme vaginal dryness, extreme pain during sex. I know one person, how scary is this, that had a prolapse from trying to have sex.
Holy crap.
I mean, right from menopause, which terrified me. I was like, wow.
Like, yeah.
A, TMI. B, oh my God. But that's something that, how would you know that
I
if we didn't talk
think
about
it's TMI. I think it's like women are not talking about this stuff enough.
Ever.
Whether it's menopause or perimenopause or, I mean, you were telling the story about going through your hormone journey. I had something not related to menopause, but a few years ago, my hormones were totally out of whack and I didn't know that's what was wrong. Mm-hmm. And I genuinely thought I was starting to go crazy. So I have a lot of mental illness in my family. And I had always sort of thought, well, I've, done a ton of therapy and I've got these tactics and I know how to take care of myself. And I sort of dodged that bullet was what I told myself. And I started to have crazy mood swings. Like I would be fine. And then all of a sudden I'd be having a panic attack, or I'd be fine. And then I'd be filled with rage. Like I can't control myself, or I'd be fine. And then I'd be crying in the floor. And I thought, it's finally happening. I'm getting close to 40 and I'm losing my mind. And I'm not saying that in a flippant way. I was kind of afraid to look at it because I thought if I go to a doctor and they diagnose me, I'm going to be devastated.
Yeah.
So
how scary.
Yeah. I finally got to a place where I was like, something really is wrong with me. And in retrospect, it was 2020. So we were all going through something totally extreme, and I was going through divorce at the time. So I'm sure that my stress levels set off this imbalance in me, but I went to actually a neurologist because I thought something was wrong with my head. I was having extreme brain fog, all these symptoms. Go to a neurologist, and before I had brain scans done, he does blood work, and you have to fill out all this paperwork to do this intake form. And he called me right after he got blood work and my forms, and he said, "Hey, I know you're coming in anyway, but just looking at your tests, I think it's possible you might have estrogen dominance. Do you know what that is?" And I was like, "No." And he said, "Google it." And I'm on the phone with him, and I Googled it, and I started sobbing. If there were 10 symptoms, I had 9 of them.
Oh my God.
And probably the only one I didn't have was that you lost your appetite for sex, but I wasn't having sex with anybody. So I was like, I wouldn't have known if I had.
Right.
And it was so wild to get that diagnosis because immediately I could get some help.
Yeah.
And before that, I just thought, well, I have to live with this now. And I don't know, but I wonder how many women think that they're having emotional problems, mental health problems, physical problems, and don't understand it's hormone based. Because I think for us, so much of it is hormone based.
Absolutely.
And based on where you are in a month, it's going to be different depending on the week that it is.
Totally.
Does this make you think differently about, your girls are older now, but like you having gone through this, do you feel like will approach like counseling them on birth control or like how they'll navigate it when they get older? Do you think that changes at all?
Wife at the Party is sponsored by BetterHelp. I talk about this a lot on my podcast. I am a huge proponent of therapy. I'm in therapy every Thursday morning at 8 a.m. I love therapy for so many reasons. It helps me have a safe place to just talk about what I'm feeling as a parent, as a wife, as a friend, as an employer. Therapy is such a great supplement to your life, really. It makes everything kind of richer and fuller and easier because it helps you kind of suss through what's going on and work through some problems. Therapy doesn't have to be for major mental illness. It doesn't have to be for any kind of huge tragedy. It can just be because you need a little extra support. It can be whatever you want it to be. And BetterHelp is a great place to turn for resources in the world of mental health. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. You just fill out a brief questionnaire and get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Make your brain your friend with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/wife today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/wife. Wife of the Party is sponsored by DraftKings. Step into a world of nonstop action on DraftKings Casino. Play the classics like blackjack, roulette, and slots. Plus, enjoy exclusive games you can't find anywhere else. Right now, new customers can get a deposit match up to $100 in casino credits when you deposit $5 or more. All you have to do is sign up, select the offer, make your deposit, and start playing from a full suite of games. Your way is the only way to play on DraftKings Casino. Play online on your time, in your space, and within your means. It's safe, secure, and reliable, so you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you're ready. Download the DraftKings Casino app now. Sign up with promo code WOTP, and new customers get a deposit match up to $100 in casino credits when you deposit $5 or more. Only on DraftKings Casino with promo code WOTP. Do you have a gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER, Michigan, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, West Virginia. Please play responsibly. In partnership with Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races in West Virginia. All games regulated by the West Virginia Lottery. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. 21 and over. Physically present in Connecticut, Michigan, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, West Virginia only. Void in Ontario. One per opted-in new customer. Minimum $5 deposit. Max match $100 in casino credits, which require one-time playthrough within 7 days. See terms at casino.draftkings.com/playerschoice. Restrictions apply.
You having gone through this, do you feel like you will approach like counseling them on birth control or like how they'll navigate it when they get older, do you think that changes at all?
I don't know. I think obviously the more that you know, the more you have to offer your kids. I've always been pretty good about mental health and that kind of stuff, and asking them to be aware of their hormonal cycles, because your progesterone changes every day.
Mm-hmm.
It's different from week to week because that's what regulates your ovulation, and your progesterone regulates your happiness.
Mm-hmm.
So I've always kind of said to them to be aware of where they are in their cycle.
That's great.
Did
you have that growing up? Did like someone tell you?
Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, I know. I was like, I think you and I were similar in that. I'm like, literally nobody ever talked to me about it. That's so great that you've given that to them.
No, I grew up with, I believe, my mother's never been diagnosed, but I believe she has some kind of borderline personality disorder. I don't have a relationship with her now. I haven't for a very long time. But I did not grow up with a very positive relationship with her. She was very sexually motivated, and seeing a lot of that, I was like, yeah, maybe not.
Yeah,
I knew maybe a little too much about shit at too early, but no, with them I was like, it's part of our nature as women to have cycles. Everything goes in cycles. Friendships, relationships, interests, what you're focused on, what your friends are doing with you is all kind of cyclical. And some of those cycles are really healthy. And if you can be aware of them, you can anticipate them and you can navigate them, right? Because like Bert, both of them have anxiety issues. I don't have any anxiety issues, but they do. So for me—
Did you guys get the holy basil?
Yes, he did.
Oh, good.
Of course he did.
Is it working? Has he been taking it?
He has been taking it.
Okay,
yes.
good.
He put it in his and I don't know. He hasn't had much anxiety, so yeah, maybe it is working.
Well, maybe. Okay, sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Well, of course we did it that day.
Yeah, good. Good.
Yeah, got it the next day. So I've always been aware of them having this other element that I didn't have as a kid, because I didn't have really any kind of anxiety like that. And to know what I've learned about anxiety, having to learn about it from having kids with it, is, imbalances in your stomach will directly affect your anxiety.
Yep.
So make sure you have a good diet. Obviously, your sleep directly affects your stress, directly affects. And I just deduced that your cycle would affect it also.
Absolutely.
So I've always talked to them about paying attention to where they were in the month.
So smart.
So that they could give themselves a break.
That's the thing. It's like, it seems so obvious, but I didn't grow up with that. And I didn't learn it. When I took sex ed in middle school, nobody taught me that. And so I keep saying it over and over and over on the podcast of like, you have to track your cycle.
Mm-hmm.
You just open a note on your phone, as simple as day 1 of your cycle is the first day that you bleed heavily. Just note how you feel. Day 1, had cramps, got a headache, very hungry. And anytime something feels a little out of like just note it. Oh, I was super turned on today, or I didn't have an appetite at all. I felt really tired. I did this when I was going through my hormone journey for about 3 months. And what I found was that every month I would get the same feelings on the same days. But before I tracked it, I always thought, this is a totally original thought. I really am this anxious, or the world really is burning down around me. Like once a month, without fail, I feel like everything's burning down. Life is hard. My kids are ungrateful. My boyfriend doesn't really love me. Like once a month without fail. But if I would go back to day, 22, the month before that, like forever, it's the same thing.
Crazy.
And at least in that instance, I have some, like you said with your fan, I've got some control, like, oh, Rach, this is not you. This is something that's going on in your body right now. And I could separate myself from those feelings.
Mm-hmm.
But before, I would just spin out like, yep, quit everything.
Right.
Move to a farm in the middle of the cut. Like you just give up.
It's over.
It's over.
I'm leaving.
All over.
Right.
Exactly.
You guys all suck.
Yeah. That's so wise that you're telling them that from such a young age.
Well, I hope, when I had kids, because I didn't have, my dad is a saint and an amazing guy and a fun dad. But, I didn't live with him. I lived an hour away. I lived with my mom until I was in high school. So I got that love piece from my dad, that just unconditional, you are the most fun thing on the planet, right? Got that. But the life skill, kind of critical thinking pieces, my dad's a mechanic. He lived across the street from his parents.
Yeah.
He lived in a very small, contained life, and he loved that. So a lot of these other complicated things, he didn't really need to figure out.
Yeah.
He didn't need to figure that shit out. But he unfortunately had one child who was quite complicated. So as I grew and got into therapy, I had to figure a lot of this stuff out for myself. And when I had kids, I was like, if I can just shortcut any of that for them.
Yes.
I don't want to do it for them. But if I can make them aware or give them a tool that they can pick up and carry on, then I feel like I've done my job.
Yeah. How did it feel to launch your oldest, like to send her off to college for the first time? Did you feel like, okay, we sort of completed this thing, or does it feel like, no, we're really just starting?
That's a really good question. I left her at college really proud. I was really proud of her because she got in the college she wanted to go to. She was very realistic about who she is. She was very, she didn't get into the rat race that happens here in LA. I don't know if it happens everywhere, but she was not into I've got to get into these big time, whatever, top colleges.
It's bananas. My oldest is 16 and is the most academically inclined. He's never gotten a B in his life. That's not from me. It's just he came into the world this way. And he's in junior year this year, which is such a big year for college. And I've been so worried about him because I just don't want him to push himself I'm like, this doesn't matter.
No.
I'm sorry. I know I'm not. It doesn't. I didn't go to college. I'm doing great.
Right.
And I'm like, I just want you to be a good human and be, and I'm so nervous about him being so hard on himself because the other, like his friends, they'll come over for dinner and they're telling me these stories and they're stressing because they got a 92 instead of 100. I'm like, for $1 million, I blew the minds of a bunch of teenagers. I said, for $1 million cash right now, I cannot tell you the name of one teacher I had in high school.
Wow.
One. That's how much I remember.
Yeah.
One teacher, Miss Cicchetti, was my English teacher. And I only remember that because it's my favorite subject and she was amazing. Yeah. That's all I got. Right. And they were like, what? I'm like, you think I can remember the score I got on a test, the grades? It will not matter.
No.
But sorry, I interrupted you in
world.
That. Yeah. So she didn't fall into that
I did
trap.
not have, none of my kids are that.
Yeah.
Never have been.
Yeah.
And it's just not their inclination. And something, no shock, but I was a good student.
Yeah.
But I don't have a college degree.
Yeah.
I went to college but dropped out.
Yeah.
Bert took 7 years to graduate college. I mean, come on now. 7 years.
He wanted to stay for the party.
He just couldn't know. We now know he's super dyslexic like our daughter Isla. So college for him was terrible. His sister, same thing. She was like, just get me out.
Yeah.
I just need to get in the world so I can work. And we don't care about that at all.
Yeah,
but
same.
It is very difficult for them to be in an environment where they are the odd man out. Yeah, for sure. So once we got her, she had her head screwed on straight. She was like, I want to go to this college. I'll apply to these other places just in case, but that's where I want to go. She got in. So when we dropped her off, I was so proud of her and really ready to just be there. I read this article one time about when your kids, I don't remember what the whole article was about, but my takeaway was when your kids get to be a certain age, they need you to be an air fern. They need to know that you're there, but you don't need anything. You don't need water. You don't need anything.
Yeah.
You're just kind of in the corner.
Right.
And they can get to you whenever they need you.
Yes.
Obviously, you can't do that entirely.
Right.
They break rules. They, choose bad things and you have to parent. But for the day-to-day, for the most part, they just need you to be there. So I tried to be that for her transition into college, to be like, I'm here, but you run this show.
Yeah.
Right. And if you screw something up, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And I was good till Mother's Day started coming.
Because is she in town or
she's not in town.
Oh, see, that makes my heart stop. But
you have 4.
I know, but I was just telling my boyfriend this last night. My oldest, I could literally start crying right now thinking about him moving away.
Mhm.
And I don't ever want to stifle my kids. I want them to spread their wings and fly. But like we do a big family dinner every Saturday. We either go out to eat or we make a big dinner.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh my God, what is going to happen the first time we do that? And Jackson's not here. I
Yeah.
can't even talk about it. I get, oh,
It's very weird.
I bet.
It's very odd. And it takes some getting used to. I'm going to be probably a mess about this time next year when Isla is in college.
That's going to be. Do you think she'll be nearby or she'll go away?
I do not. No.
Oh.
Her number one school is nowhere near here. And not because it's nowhere near here. It's just that that's the school that is the right place for her.
Right.
I hope to God she gets in. It's the right place for her.
Wow.
And I'd be so happy for her to be there.
Yeah.
But
are they at least near each other?
no, they are not.
No.
No,
Okay.
They
Okay.
are not.
See, my impression and getting to know you guys now too is that you are very close family. Yeah. And we are too.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what that transition looks like to being a close family and then and then they're not there anymore. Oh,
yeah.
Oh.
Well, you never moved that far from home, right?
Yeah.
You're from California.
I'm from Bakersfield. Yeah. So
I'm
living
from Georgia.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So then I understand what that's like.
Yeah.
So what you do is you make a real effort. Like my dad's here right now.
Cool.
He's with Georgia at home. Her school doesn't start till later in September. But you the thing about it is you have to find ways to have them with you anyway, even though they're not here. So I have a picture. I have pictures of my kids everywhere, but I have a picture of just me in Georgia in a place that I see every day. So I see her every day. And I let her call me. I try not to bug her too much. 2 or 3 days go by and then I'm going to reach out. But it is hard. It's like anything else. It's a transition.
Yeah.
And what you want for them is to launch.
100%.
You want them.
You're not trying to raise kids to
Come
still
home.
be dependent on you. You're trying to raise kids to become adults.
Yes. But I have to tell you, I had several days where I was like, seriously, I spent the last 19 years of my life to be alone.
Yes.
Why did I do that? That was stupid. I'm an only child. All I ever wanted was a big family.
Yeah.
Right? And now I am an only child again because I have my roommate Isla for another year. But when Bert's next year, he's on the road.
Yeah.
And I'm like an only child again. And I'm like, what did I do? Why would I have done that?
How funny.
For my own process.
So do you not go on the road? That's not?
I will when I was gone.
But okay. Yeah. Yeah.
But no.
Yeah.
And we needed them to have a white picket fence life.
Absolutely.
The thing about what we agreed on, Bert and I, when we first had kids was, it's going to be like dad works at the bank. It's not any big mystery that he's this big, oh my God, comic. He just has a job that takes him away. But when he came home, he and I agreed that he would be completely plugged in. And he was not as busy as he is now until the kids were pretty old.
Yeah.
And they didn't really care if he was plugged in or not. They wanted him to be the air fern.
Yeah.
Right? So our timing of when things happened in his life was really kind of ideal because he would come home from the road either Sunday night or Monday morning, drop off, pick up snacks, softball practice. He was hardcore plugged in to dad. And we would always say, you get dad all day, every day for 3 days a week. Everybody else's dad comes in, they have dinner with them, and that's it.
Exactly.
So it really is amazing. And we got really connected when they were really young, and I worked full time. He was like nanny dad. He did everything.
That's awesome.
Before they were in school. So the transition, I think, was less hard for him because he's used to traveling and being away from them. But for me, I was like, what did I do to myself?
Yeah.
What was I thinking?
Did that make you have any sort of midlife crisis? Like, who am I? What am I doing?
A little
kind
bit.
of thing? Yeah.
Yes, a little bit. But one thing about me, I think you are similar to this, is I don't want to not grow.
Exactly.
I'm not interested in wallowing in anything.
Yeah.
I am interested in validating a feeling and having the feeling, recognizing it, and then figuring out how to grow from it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I did feel that way earlier this year, probably January, February. I felt like, what's my next 10 years look like?
Yes.
Right? And what am I doing here? And I was a writer before I met Bert.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I wrote screenplays. Wrote
Shut
8
up.
screenplays. I had 1 got made, 4 got optioned. I was a writer.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
So I was like, well, do I go back to writing and do I have time? And then Bert's business got so busy that Bert and I decided I probably needed to. I've always been involved in his business, but we never had this many employees. And, you know, Bert didn't get into comedy to be a CEO. So I was like, well, maybe I should start doing that. And I've really actually very much enjoyed this journey of trying to build this company with all the ladies and the gentlemen here. And that's been really great. But I did have that moment. So this opportunity came along to do this. And I went, okay, this may not be the next 10 years.
Yeah.
But maybe the next 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Until I can get everything else kind of up and running. And then the other thing that happened is that I started looking at my relationship and thinking, well, now we have the opportunity to kind of recalibrate. We've always been super focused on our kids. Like we'd have date nights, but not very frequently because he was gone so much.
Yeah.
So when he'd come home, we'd want to be together, the 4 of us.
Right.
And we have an extended group of families that we would all 16 of us be together. But there was not a lot of just me and Bert. And I started thinking in the spring, that's our future. And I don't want to figure that out like last minute. Let's start figuring that out now.
That's great.
And so we have started figuring that out and we are having so much freaking fun.
Good.
It's amazing. So I'm looking forward to going on the road with them.
Good.
I don't want to live that life.
Yeah. That's a hard life.
Forget it. On a bus all the
time. I know.
time?
I was going to say
No.
he was showing us the bus when I was here last time and he's so excited about it. And I was talking to my boo who's very familiar with life on a bus and was like, oh, it's so nice. And the way he set it up is so great, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, this is my nightmare. This is my nightmare. Like, I like my feet planted firmly on the ground. And I think it's like some people so can do that.
Mhm.
And then other people, I'm just like, oh, wow, you're so pumped. And this like this terrifies me. Because when Kez was touring, he was like, oh, you should come out and like do a leg with us. Like come and sleep on the bus. And I'm like, I'm good. I'm so good. Thank you. I'm good. I don't want to travel by bus. Yeah. But
it's
I get
okay
that.
for a couple days.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I mean, I did all of Fully Loaded. And by the end of it, I was like, okay.
Yeah. Was that the one with like all the comics? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I bet that was a little bit like herding cats or, you know, it seems like a lot of personalities, like trying to navigate through around the country.
Yes.
Did you go by bus on that tour?
Yes, we did. We traveled by bus.
That's a lot.
The thing about Bert Kreischer is that he is such a positive, good person that's all he kind of hangs with.
That's great. That's
so
great.
I cannot say one troublesome, high maintenance, negative thing about anybody on that tour. Sincerely.
Great.
And we had a few that we were like, let's see how this goes.
Yeah.
Like love the person, anticipating a little high maintenance.
Yeah.
Didn't happen.
That's awesome.
And I think it's just because that's who Bert is.
Yeah. It was like the culture of what you guys were doing. That's so cool.
And the ladies downstairs ran everything and they did it in such a way that it made that environment easy for everybody who was on the tour.
Had you guys done, I mean, sorry if this is a dumb question, but like, do you fully produce the tours every time internally or does that happen with, I'm not really sure how.
Oh, that's a good question. Sort of.
Yeah. Okay.
Is the answer. Like, obviously, Bert has an agent and a manager. Fully Loaded is a little bit different in that Bert owns that festival, like physically owns it.
Yeah.
So we produce that a lot more. And there are more comics. There's more moving parts to that festival than just his regular, like right now he's on Top Stuff World Tour. So we do produce it to an extent. We hire a production company that does all that stuff, but we don't come up with the routing or his agent and manager work together and figure out like where to go and what venues to go to. We're not doing any of that.
Cool. Okay.
So we just hire the production company and get them up and on the road.
And will you do something like that again in the future?
Fully Loaded?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're doing it next year.
Oh, cool.
Yes.
And are there things that you're like, okay, this worked and we loved it. Never again this thing. Like were there surprises because it was the first time you guys had like done that much of something before?
Well, the first time was 2 years ago.
Oh, my bad.
So this was it's okay.
Okay.
The first year was 2 years ago, and we were like, "Ooh, is this going to work?"
Yeah.
And when we started it, Bert and I decided we had several things that were really important to us that were non-negotiable. Like we wanted the talent to feel like 5-star as much as they could. That the bus was really nice, that their swag bags were off the chain, that we had like activities for them to do that were really fun and interesting, but no pressure, don't have to do them.
Yeah.
But if you want to, today we're floating the river in Boise. Want to go float the river? Let's do it. You want to take a nap? Go for it. And that they all just felt really cared for. And then we have a charity component that was important to us to kind of, we feel so grateful for the life we have that I thought this festival, we should take a percentage of what we personally own and just give it back to the community.
That's incredible.
And that's what we've done. But in the first year, we both agreed for proof of concept, if we break even, we're successful. So let's just really do it the way we want it done with the plan of breaking even and see how we come up.
That's
and
great.
It was actually profitable. So we're like, okay, if we really pulled out all stops and made it profitable, let's do it again next year, twice as big. And we did it, and same thing happened. It's still profitable. So we're like, as long as we're profitable, then we can keep going.
Great.
So then next year, we're going to kind of repeat the same format, except we're going to add the very last date will be 2 days in the same place, sort of like something like Coachella. So it'll be a multiple day festival. So you buy one ticket for 2 days instead of it being in a different city every day. So that's the only thing we're changing next year. But it's really fun and exciting, and I loved it.
Do you guys tour all year long?
Yes.
Wow.
He tours all year long, except his mean old wife this year was like, can I have you like just not tour in the summer?
Yeah.
So when you were podcasting a couple weeks ago, he's still working, but let's just not travel.
Yeah, that's great.
Isla's last summer home before her senior year. Next year we're doing Fully Loaded again. And we always take a big trip when our kid graduates. For Georgia, we went to Italy, a big vacation to Italy.
Cool.
Isla wants to go to Iceland and Ireland.
Yes.
So we'll go do that. When she graduates, and I was like, so next summer's going to be kind of packed. Let's just be at home this summer and just chill.
Yeah.
So
did it feel good?
Yeah.
Good.
It was really good for him.
Good.
I think it reset a lot of stuff for him.
Nice.
He thrives on chaos a bit.
Yeah.
I do not thrive on chaos.
Same. I don't. Well, I also think maybe similarly, if you had chaos in your childhood, you do not want it in your. If you can help it, you don't want to repeat that in your life. It feels like, like you were talking about feeling like you want to get out of your skin. That's me when I'm inside of chaos.
Yeah.
So good for you for pushing back. Also, when you go to Ireland, I have recommendations.
Please.
Yeah.
I've never been.
I have been one time, and it was a pretty epic trip.
Oh,
and
I'll take them.
Fabulous. There's one hotel in particular that I still follow on Instagram just so that I can see the pictures and be like, oh, I loved it.
Love it.
I had a fabulous time.
That's awesome.
And I've always wanted to go to Iceland.
Yeah.
That's on my bucket list.
Yeah.
So if you guys want to invite me on that trip, whatever, I'll go.
We'll ask Isla. Okay, can we have one more person?
Yeah, just one. Just Rachel. You met her one time in a bus.
Just one more. One more. When you started, I loved what you were talking about the other day on Bert's podcast about when you started figuring out you needed to make some changes in your life and you went to the library and just devoured books. Do you remember any book in particular that really stood out to you?
The first book that this popping into my head that I remember reading that was so different than anything I'd ever read before was Peace, Peace, from Broken Pieces by Ian Van Zandt. And I picked it up because I had seen her on Oprah, who is my hero, and she was talking about trauma and childhood and the hard things she had lived through, and it sounded interesting, and I went to get it. And it was unlike anything I'd ever read before because I'd never heard someone talk about their trauma. I just hadn't read a book like that. And I remember randomly, because I was a young adult at the time, that my mom was visiting, who I have a lot of feelings about my mom. And I remember she saw it on my coffee table. And she said, "Do you feel broken?" And I was like, "No, I don't feel broken, but that's through a lot of work that I don't feel broken." And she was so flabbergasted by that I would even have that book. But that's the first one I remember reading that made me understand there was a category of books out there that would talk about stuff I had never heard someone talk about before. I'm trying to think of other ones that were really impactful, like so many years ago. I mean, I could give you a bunch now. I mean, so much time has gone by, but
it's those origin books,
yeah,
really.
That's the one that pops in my head. That's an origin book. That
kickstarts you off on that journey, right? I had a similar experience where I went to see a guy who did Reiki on me because I had really bad headaches. And I walked in the door and he goes, "Ooh, you got stuff going on with your mom." And I went, "I do."
Yeah.
I sure do.
Isn't Reiki a trip?
I freaking love it.
Such a trip. Do you have someone good here?
I don't.
Oh, okay. I don't either.
No. But my friend just did some Reiki in Palm Springs to a guy who comes to Silver Lake once a month.
Ooh,
so
cool.
I'm supposed to.
Okay, you're gonna try it.
Check him out.
You'll let me know.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, he said to me something really important. He said, if I work with you, I'm going to start you on a journey. You have to decide right now if you're going to go on that journey, you're going to stay like this, because once you start, you can't stop it. And I was like, well, this is not working.
Yeah.
So let's go on that journey. And then he was a very holistic thinker. And he gave me a book called You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay.
I was just going to say, when you were like, when I was trying, I'm like, I could give you books now. And I was like, what is that one by Louise Hay? It's so good.
Amazing.
Everybody should get it.
Amazing. And he gave me Creative Visualizations by Shakti Gawain, which is about how to visualize and how to kind of manifest the life or the person you want to be, the life you want for yourself by visualizing. Those are the first 2 self-help books I read. And I was like, I felt like I was a starving person who had, for the first time, been given food. That's how I felt.
That's so good.
I felt like, and I just devoured everything I could get my hands on.
How incredible that you got to start with visualization, because that's something that a lot of people will never touch or don't even know that it's a thing. And it is without question why I have the life I had today. Is as a little girl, I did not know that word till I was an adult, but I would have told you, oh, it's my imagination. I would pull myself out of the environment I was in, or pull myself out of a home life that was not great by daydreaming, but like very, very intense daydreams of like, this is what it's going to look like when I have my own job and I can afford my own apartment and I don't have to live here and I don't have to listen to them fight anymore. This is what my boyfriend's going to look like. This is the clothes I'm going to wear. And it was my favorite activity. And then years later, when I learned about visualization and manifesting, I was like, oh, that's what I was doing. Forever, right? Yeah. So the fact that you got that first is so key.
Yeah, he was a very pivotal person in my life, but is a very deeply wise human being. Cool. And clearly had read all of these books too and was like, start with these 2.
Yeah, that's
and
great.
It couldn't have been more perfect because I visualize too. And my visualization, I don't know if yours has, but mine has changed because like anything else, you get really good at things, right?
Yeah.
So you don't have to spend the intense time that I did when I was in my 20s to really get into all these details. Sometimes I feel like I just think it and it shows up. I'll have a moment's thought and I go, oh, there it is.
Yep.
And even I'm in therapy. I was talking to my therapist yesterday, and a couple sessions ago, I was like, I'm feeling like I'm not being seen by people in my life. Like I'm repeating myself. I'm sometimes saying something multiple times, and I'm not someone who just needs to talk, but I seem to be lately talking to talk. So why? What's the root of that? Why am I doing that? And it came down to, I don't feel like I'm being really seen or heard. So I feel like I keep having to repeat myself or put myself like, hey, I'm over here, you know? And a couple days later, I was in a situation where I was undeniably, without question, seen, like deeply seen by 3 people. And I didn't make the connection until I was in therapy yesterday. And in therapy yesterday, I told her about it and I went, isn't it funny how God talks to you? Right? I'm not a religious person, but I did grow up with religion.
Yeah, same.
I'm from Southern Baptist religion, but my mom was like Maharishi Yogi. So I had 2 perspectives on spirituality, and I think it was invaluable. But I believe that visualization is a connection to a higher power that will give you what you ask for. All you have to do is ask for it. And you have to ask for the right thing. For me, I learned I personally stopped saying, I want to be rich. What I started saying was, I want to be secure. I want to be financially safe. I don't want to ever worry about money if I don't have to. I want to take care of my family, my dad, my aunts, my uncles, my kids. And I didn't put a label on that. I just wanted a feeling, right? And I think that's how you talk to God.
Yeah.
And that's how he listens, or she listens.
Well, I also think the place that people get this wrong is that they accidentally create the opposite of what they want, because what we focus on, we create.
You wrote that in this book.
Yes. Yeah. So this idea that like, you're like, I want to feel financially secure, but most people will handle that by obsessing over the money they don't have.
Yes.
The bills, I can't pay this. What's going to happen? There's a great expression that says where focus goes, energy flows. So you give energy to the thing that you focus on. And when you focus on what you want to happen exclusively, like you're like, I want to be in circles and surrounded by people who see me and love me and support me the way I see and love and support others. That you're calling that into your life, as opposed to going, nobody sees me, everyone's an asshole, like I can't find any support. And then you accidentally create more of the thing that you don't want.
That's right. By saying, I don't want any bills.
Yes.
Your brain hears bills.
Right.
Bills. Bills. So guess what you get? Bills.
Yeah.
When your brain hears freedom, then he goes, oh, well, let's get you some freedom.
Right. Well, I think it's Louise Hay. I think it's that book where I think it's her. There's some great book that talks about anytime you pay a bill, take a minute and say thank you.
Oh.
Because if you're paying the bill, it means that you have money to pay the bill. So it's like a gratitude for thank you that I actually can't, instead of being like, oh, I can't believe I've got to pay this water bill, it's crazy, or I can't believe the price of gas, and you're just focusing on the negativity in that. It's like, God, thank you so much, because I remember when I was paying for gas using the change that I was collecting from under the seats, you know? You'd go into AM/PM and be like, I got $1.78 on pump 6. Like, I remember that.
I do too.
So at the same time, even though gas is insanely expensive in LA, I, with gratitude and appreciation, I'm like, yep, here's the credit card, because I can fill up my tank right now, which is something I didn't used to have.
Totally.
So.
Yeah, I thought that way always when I was writing and I was working 3 jobs. I always thought, thank you for these 3 jobs, because it allows me to pursue my dream. And I think that makes you happier, because you got to go to that job, like it or not. So you can go to that job miserable that you have to work to support your dream, or you can go to that job grateful that you get to work so that you can support your dream.
Yeah.
And sometimes your dream may always be a dream that, you know, I think it's an interesting thing to contemplate when you make a choice for a dream and that choice changes, right? I have a good friend who wanted to be a stand-up, and he was a stand-up for a long time. And at a certain point, he didn't want to do the grind anymore. He loved writing the jokes and he loved that part of it, but he didn't want any of the Hollywood grind anymore. And he was like, you know what I like? I like balance in my checkbook. Like, I really like money stuff. So he pivoted and became like a financial planner. And he had a last show.
Oh, you guys talked about this.
Bert talked about this. And Bert thought it sucked. And I kept going, it so does not suck. It so does not suck, because how brave it is for him to go, I actually don't want this dream anymore. I actually want a dream that's where I work 9 to 5. I have a wife. I have a kid. And everything's predictable and everything is stable, and I'm not traveling every weekend. And there's not all this pressure to be funny, and I'm not in this highly competitive environment. I just want to show up and do a good job and be a family man.
Yeah.
And I was like, freaking right on, man.
Yeah.
I loved that he was brave enough to pivot away from this dream, that not all dreams have to be fantastic. Your dream, when you started dreaming about this Empire's a weird word. I think people don't like that word, but I think you have an empire, which is amazing. I think we have an empire a certain way in our little bitty lane.
Yeah.
Not everybody
it's not
dreams
that little,
like that.
It's not that little your lane. But
well, in the scope of the world, it's
True.
a little lane.
Yes.
So I just think it's so brave, and as brave as what we've dreamt is to be the person who just wants to be a good family man.
Yes.
That's an amazing dream.
Yeah.
And you can visualize that as your dream. It doesn't
Absolutely.
have to be some grandiose, crazy, off the wall, I want to own a cigar boat, dream.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, this is probably what'll be like on my headstone is this idea that you just should have something.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter what it is. I was talking to my producer, Jack, today, who's been with me for a decade. And we both have goals for our life, and they could not be more different. Jack's goal for the longest time was to get a Sprinter van and to kit out the inside and turn it into a home on wheels so he could travel around the country. And he did it. I've watched him do it over the last few years, and it's this huge joy in his life. We could not be more different people, but I remember us like telling each other the goals that we had. I was like, I want to be a New York Times bestseller. And he's like, I really want to get a Sprinter van. And I remember being like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? A van? And now it's so popular, and there's like Instagrams that are just about people's vans. But I love the idea that we all have such different hopes and dreams for our life. And yours is different than mine, is different than someone who's listening to this. But the whole goal is that you have a goal.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what it is.
Right.
It just matters that you're working towards a life that feels better to you.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes along the way, like your friend, you realize like, oh gosh, it wasn't this. It was this.
Right.
But would he ever have had the awareness of what it actually is for him if he hadn't tried this other thing and realized, you know what? Not for me, actually.
Yeah. Totally. And think about what I think about too is the skills that I learned from working my day jobs that I use every day here. I managed an apartment building. I waited tables at really high-end restaurants. The customer service that has to go into waiting tables at the highest end restaurants, I use all the time in this industry. And I'm grateful for every single piece of it, even when I would work 3 jobs and barely make my rent. That's how you get grit.
Yeah. You don't ever know where stuff's going to come back too. I totally agree. My first job in LA was as an executive assistant at a production company. And it was like out of a movie. Like it was chaos and it was hard and you work long hours and you weren't ever allowed to say that you couldn't get something done. You just had to figure it out. And it was a nightmare. And it was also a huge reason that I knew how to function in any business setting because of that time, because of not taking no for an answer, because of like, you got to get a reservation at this impossible restaurant. And when I was in it, I was like, this is so stupid. This doesn't matter. But the amount of times that has come into play in my life, you never know why you're in the situation you're in right now or when it's going to pop out later. So you have to assume that it's all sort of working out for a greater good, or at least I assume that.
Yeah, I do too. I'm just curious about it.
Yeah.
Well, who am I supposed to meet here?
Yeah.
What am I supposed to learn?
Yeah. What's this? Yeah.
Yeah.
How's this going to show up later for sure?
It's going to show up.
Yeah.
How do you think growing up the way you did, I think you may have already answered this, but how do you think growing up the way you did affected who you are? Season's greetings. More like season's compliments, because compliments are guaranteed for your man after he makes the leap to skincare with Caldera Lab. You heard that right. Men's skincare is here, and Caldera Lab is the best for your man to look amazing today and 20 years from now. The results are incredible in little time. Men's skincare and Caldera Lab are the perfect pair for the man in your life to look and feel your best. 100,000 men trust Caldera Lab to clearer skin, less wrinkles, and decreased signs of aging. They are the must-have for your man this holiday season. I love this line of products. The packaging, first of all, which isn't the most important thing about the product, but the packaging is beautiful. So when I opened it, when we first received it, I was like, this is all so pretty. But it is a men's skincare line, and Bert is the worst at taking care of his skin. So when this showed up for him and it was packaged so beautifully, it made it much easier to get him to use it. I think it's a wonderful product. And skincare is a very female-driven industry. So finding something that kind of inspires a man to take care of his skin is really awesome. And I think Caldera Lab does that because it makes it very fast and easy to cleanse your skin and then moisturize your skin and take excellent care of your skin. Caldera Lab creates high-performance men's skincare products, and the regimen leads off their product lineup, a twice-a-day routine to transform your skin. The regimen includes 3 products: the Clean Slate, the Base Layer, and the Good. The Clean Slate starts and ends your day as a face wash that leaves your skin feeling refreshed. The Base Layer is a daily moisturizer to hydrate your skin and jumpstart your day full of confidence and cleanliness and moisturized skin. And the Good is your go-to multifunctional serum at night that helps your skin look tighter and smoother, as well as helps reduce the visibility of wrinkles and fine lines. Every drop of this serum is packed with 3.4 million antioxidant units that protect your skin. And just for our audience, we have an exclusive deal. You're not going to beat this offer. Use WIFE at calderalab.com and get 20% off right now. Caldera Lab is spelled CALDERALAB, Caldera Lab. Get 20% off with code WIFE at calderalab.com to give your man unforgettable first impressions with the best gift this holiday season. 20% off at calderalab.com with code WIFE. How do you think growing up the way you did affected who you are?
Okay, so I have what, we'll edit that and it'll sound better than me stumbling over my words right now. But a few years ago, I got to hear Oprah speak live. And she told this story that I was just like, oh, perfect. She was talking about being with her mother as her mother was dying. And it was I don't know if you know much about Oprah's relationship with her mom, but very, very, very hard. And in a lot of ways, and probably most of the ways that we would look at how mother is supposed to show up, her mom did not. And her mom failed her in a lot of ways. But she's with her mother at the end of her life. Her mom's in hospice, and she's talking to her therapist and trying to navigate, this woman is about to die. And in a lot of ways, she's not really my mom because she didn't show up for me how she should have. But do I want her to pass and me not have said, like, how do I even hold space for this? And so she spent a ton of time trying to figure out how to truthfully show up in that room with her mom. And what she said to her ultimately was, you are not the mother that I would have chosen. But if you were not the mother you were, I would not be the woman that I am. And I was like, holy shit. Like, that is the most perfect way to explain the beauty in the hard pieces of this. For me, I wouldn't be doing this work, I think, if I came from a totally healthy family. I think in a lot of ways, I, from a very early age, learned to be the fixer. I learned, even though I was the youngest child, in a lot of ways, I functioned as the oldest. And I took care of everybody and I made sure everyone was okay. And, you know, daddy's getting upset, I'm going to like tell a joke and calm everybody down. And I now understand how unhealthy that was. But as a little kid, you just do what you do to survive. So I came into my early adulthood thinking, well, I can fix it. I can do that. I see what it is. So when I went on my own path for personal development, started reading these books just because I wanted to heal myself, then I would share what I was learning. I would tell girlfriends, or I'd write about it on my blog, which is how I got started. And it started to resonate with people. And it just kept growing and growing. And here we are, 10 years later or whatever. And this is the world that I live inside of, where I'm still doing this. I'm still curious about how to make parts of my life better. I still read the books. I still listen to podcasts. And then I just disseminate what I'm learning. I'm like, hey guys, I heard this thing, or I'm trying this thing. I'm naturally curious. So I'm constantly like, oh, what? Okay. How'd you guys put a tour together? Like, I just want to know all the things. And that really comes from a childhood of trying to learn how to make things better for other people. So I really took that role that I played as a little girl, and I'm still very much doing it today. And ironically, my family is the last people who will ever read or listen to anything that I do. But I'm still, still over here doing this thing. So I would not be who I am if I hadn't gone through what I went through.
Right.
And I don't know if you know much about past lives, but this idea of past lives is that we choose our parents. So we choose our soul is choosing the parents that we need to take us on the journey we're meant to have in this lifetime, which is something I only really learned about in the last maybe 5 years. And I love that concept. I did not grow up. I mean, if I had talked about past lives as a little girl, they would have burned me for a witch.
Sin. You're sinning.
You're a sinner. But I love that idea because I don't know. I just see such a correlation between who I am and the exact parents that I have.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Same. I actually had a medium come and talk to me. She only knew my first name. And she said, you came into this life to finish with your mother, and you're finished. Your karma's good. And I was like, wow. Thank you.
Wow.
She was like, many, many lives together with this woman. You're done.
And
I was like, I kind of feel done.
Yeah.
That resonates as true for me. Yep. So yeah, I believe in that too. I believe the same exact thing. I think that I had the parents I was supposed to have to be the person I am today, but it's not without my own hard work, perseverance. And I was wired as a hugely curious person. I'm an only child, and I've always wondered what a sibling would have done with what I lived in, because I think I'm wired like my mom. My mom's pretty tough as nails. I'm pretty tough as nails, like in resilience. My dad is a soft, sweet little butterfly of a soul. And I always wondered if I had a sibling that was wired like him, how that person would have handled it.
Yeah.
I really feel like they wouldn't have been okay. And so I always grew up resentful of being an only child, but as an adult, I think I'm more grateful because I've surrounded myself with siblings that aren't my blood related siblings, and I'm okay. I have enough of a community, but yeah, I remember as I look back on my life, it doesn't feel like this when you're in it, but as you reflect on your 20s and 30s, and for me, my 40s also, I see small releases of my connection to my mother, right? It happened in a slow unraveling, but I can see kind of key points where I would learn something for a book, or someone would say something to me that would make a large release, right? And these small releases. So at a certain point, someone had said to me, you have so much sadness in you. And I don't even think you know what the sadness is about, but you cover it with a lot of anger and energy. So until you get to that sadness, you're never going to fill with happiness. You got to deal with the sad. So I made it my mission to just be sad for a while, to let myself be really sad.
How old were you at that age?
21, maybe.
Cool.
And so it took me 2 or 3 years of really trying to process through that. But in that time, I would write letters to my mother about what made me sad about my relationship, or what made me angry about her. Because if the angry is on top of the sad, it's hard to get to the sad. So I wrote a lot about my anger with her. And then at a certain point, I wrote about grief and sadness with her, right? My loss of this idea of a mother that you never had in the first place. So you didn't really lose anything, but you lose in that you see all these other moms and you go, well, that stinks for me. That's a bum rap for me. And then I got to a certain point when I was in my early 30s where my mom would do this thing. I believe that she has narcissism as a personality disorder, not like, hey, she's super self-centered. I mean, like the legit, like the insane one.
Yes.
So when I was 13, I moved from her to my dad's house and she just didn't talk to me for like a year and a half. I was like, you're dead to me. Would say the words, you're dead to me. Threw away my baby pictures. Like, you're gone.
Yeah.
And then it happened again. Interesting, as we were talking about cycles before, 10 years later at 23, you're dead to me. I don't want to know you. You're gone. Got rid of every evidence of me in her life. Made her whole family excommunicate because of an argument. Just an argument of like, she asked me to lie about something and I said no. And it dismantled everything.
Yeah. And narcissists believe that their children are their property.
They believe they are a direct reflection. And that sounds like, oh yeah, my kids are a reflection of me. No. They are an extension of them.
Yes.
So if we are in agreement, they believe they're like life threatened.
Yes.
Like, you're threatening my life now.
Yep.
When I'm going, I just don't want to lie for you. And lying is bad anyway. And then at 33, when I found out I was pregnant with Georgia, we had another argument and she again said, you're dead to me. And I went, I'm done. I'm good.
You're like, okay.
So at that point, I sat down and wrote a letter of forgiveness. I wanted to forgive her because, not forgetting, I wanted to forgive her for everything I held on to that I believed was because of her, right? Because at a certain point when you're an adult, it's not her fault anymore. It's your fault. It's your choices and your maladaptive behavior that you're continuing.
Yep.
So I had already assessed that and stopped kind of blaming her a long time ago for anything that I was doing present day. But for some reason, when that happened, I needed to just be like it all out of my, and be over. And it was over. It was over at about 33 years old, where I went, I am done. Wow. I'm free. Goodbye.
See, I get a lot of questions about this on my podcast of there are family members I don't speak to anymore. Mm-hmm. And I feel like this is a concept that's very difficult for some people to grasp onto because they have been taught family over everything. Mm-hmm. This is all that matters. But I mean, and yours is even more extreme because it's your mom. Mm-hmm. But I don't care how related we are. Mm-hmm. If you're a toxic asshole, which some of my family is, I don't want any part of it.
Yeah, you don't have to.
And interestingly, it wasn't until I started to build my own family that I had the courage to cut those ties. Because I was like, I am not letting you bring this to my kids.
100%.
You are not going to do this stuff to them.
That's what happened for me. I was like, you will not be doing this to my child.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Right.
No way.
And how many people listening to this have this kind of relationship and their kids are watching that happen to them. Right. So they're learning some sort of fucked up way of, oh, this is what a parent-child relationship is supposed to be, or this is how sisters treat each other, or this is what, no way.
No way.
Life is too short, and there are too many people in my life that I'm not related to but consider family, like family by choice, to put up with genetic family that are the worst. So good for you.
Well, it's, to your point, it's very hard to understand. Bert had a really hard time understanding it. He has a great family and they're not without their flaws. There's a lot of push and pull and power play and all kinds of anxiety flowing through everybody. Dyslexia, anxiety, all kind of processing problems. Everybody misunderstands each other. No one respects the other person's anxiety attack. There's a bunch of bullshit, right? But so when this happened with my mom, when he came into my life and then we got pregnant and my mom declared me dead via email. Great. So I printed it out so I'd never forget it. So it's different when you hear it because sometimes you can go, well, maybe I didn't hear that exactly. You can excuse a verbal conversation a little differently than black and white. And I'm a writer. So I was like, Baby, I'm never forgetting this one.
Yep.
Thank you. It was almost like a contract saying you can let me go now because this that you've experienced your entire life is in black and white.
Yes.
And if anybody asks you, you can go, just read this real quick and you tell me what you think.
Yeah.
So I remember printing it. His sister was with me when it came in, and I printed it out and I read it and I handed it to Annie, and she started crying. And she went, I can't believe a mother would ever say this to a child, ever. But still, Bert was like, can't you do something? I mean, we have our grandkids. I mean, there's something you could do. And years later, I still had a relationship with her mom. And I would take my kids to see her mom because I wanted them to know great-grandparents, mom and dad. I would go see them. And she just walked in the door one day and was like, hey, I'm your nanny. And I was like, what? My kids are like 6 and 8 and have never seen you. You are nobody's nanny. But okay, not to upset my grandparents. I just let the day play out like it was going to play out. And when it did, we were leaving and she went up to Bert and went, well, this was so much fun. I might just show up in California one day. And Bert goes, no, you won't. I've never seen you, never talked to you. I'm probably never going to see you again. And like
Good
2 weeks later, right? 2 weeks later, a letter comes in the mail and I recognize her handwriting and I handed it to Bert and I go, I don't even want to read it. It's going to be bad.
Yep.
So you read it. And if it's not bad, you let me know.
Yep.
But if it's bad, burn it. I don't even want to know about it.
Yeah.
So he goes in the backyard and he comes in. He goes, I get it. Nope. She's not allowed here.
Yep.
And I went, thank you. Sometimes it's so hard for someone who has no experience of that level.
That's a thing.
To wrap their head around any possibility.
Yes.
Where a child would reject a parent like that. But until you are in it, it's almost like menopause.
Yeah.
Until you're in the hot flash,
yeah,
you don't really understand it. So the compassion that should be had for someone's choice to keep themselves healthy and not toxic, it's just compassion. And just realizing you don't know anything about that person's life and how dare you judge them in that way.
Well, and it's only people who haven't had that kind of life that would judge it.
100%.
And you're judging it through the lens of your parents. You're like, well, all parents are hard. No, there's a difference. You don't know. It is a very, very different thing. And chances are if you don't know, then you can't possibly understand how bad it can be and how unhealthy and how manipulative and how gross and just all of it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's a huge thing for you to just be like, we're done.
Oh, I was done.
Yeah.
It reminded me as you were talking about it, how you talked about ambition for women in your book and how it's not okay for women to be ambitious.
Yeah.
And it's not okay for you to reject your family member.
Yeah.
And it is okay.
Yeah. There's all sorts of rules, right? That women are supposed to follow. And especially women, if we were raised in earlier generations, I like to think that in the world that our kids are growing up inside of, that this is shifting. But I think there's still a lot of, this is how it's supposed to play out and this is what you're supposed to do. And within my community, and maybe yours as well, it's working women, it's working parents, it's entrepreneurs, it's people with a side hustle, it's people who are trying to build a dream. They want to be writers or comedians or actors or whatever. And they are surrounded oftentimes by people who are like, but what's this going to do to the kids? You know, that this was the litany or the monologue that I got often from my in-laws when I was married was, what was it going to do to the kids that I was working? Because it's not the environment that my ex-husband grew up in. He grew up in like mom stays home and, you know, she would have like a part-time job or whatever, but like her role was to be a mom and my role was supposed to only be a mom. And I was sort of stepping outside of the ideals that they had for how a wife and a mother was supposed to show up. And I always think it's so insane because nobody ever asked my ex-husband if he was going to quit his job and stay home with the kids. Nobody ever, you know, it's just this BS that's put on women that's not put on men. So I don't know. It was a lot to navigate, especially when I was younger and I was much more in the mindset of trying to be a people pleaser and make everybody like me. And I've learned so much about that as I've gotten older, that people pleasing is never about actually pleasing people. It's about your own safety. That you feel like, if I can just keep everyone okay, if I can just make sure no one's mad at me, then I'm safe. And so I will try and navigate no one being mad at me by making sure everyone likes me.
Sounds like your childhood.
It's my childhood.
Yeah.
All day.
Yeah.
So for me, it was this huge thing to slowly, it took a while, but very slowly establish that I'm allowed to have a job. I'm allowed to build a career. I'm allowed to build an empire. I'm allowed to make this money. All of these things I am allowed to do. And in retrospect, thank God. Thank God, because I have been the financial breadwinner for my family for a very long time. And if I had listened, if I had played small, if I had just gone along with the way it was implied to me that it was supposed to be, obviously we would have been fine.
Right.
But like, I wouldn't be able to financially support my children the way that I have for the last 5 years. Like, and who would have done that?
Right.
So it's just sort of insane. We grow up in cultures, and I know this isn't true for everybody, but we grow up in cultures where it's like, at least I did, that the man, don't worry, the man's going to like provide for you. He's going to do this, this, and this. You're going to be fine. You're going to be taken care of. The amount of women in my community after I went through divorce who told me about going through divorce and being left with nothing. You know, they had raised the kids, they had done the thing, they had followed the rules that you were supposed to do. They end up getting divorced, and now they haven't been in the job force for 15 years. They don't make their own money. They don't know how to navigate this new world. It's really wild how much we are taught to give our power away in the hopes that, yeah, if you're lucky enough to meet a partner, man or woman, who's going to be a true partner, and you guys are going to grow old together, and you're going to freaking amazing. But that's not everybody's story.
It's not, for sure.
And it's so crazy to me, especially growing up in a religious home, how much the church environment that I grew up in, and sort of biblically speaking, the man is the head of the household. The man is the one who's supposed to make the decisions. He's going to know best. And I bought into this for so long. And all respect to my ex-husband, like, when we met, he was 27 years old. You're telling me a 27-year-old boy is, quote, the man of the house, and he knows what's best for us as that's insane. And I do think about this a lot, how much pressure that must have felt like for him to try and navigate and go, holy shit, I got to know all the answers for 2 people now.
Right.
And then we're going to have a baby, and now I got to know the answers for 3 people.
Right.
It's so warped.
It's nutty.
Yeah, it really is. And I think coming from certain cultures, it's a lot more predominant than it is. You know, you tell people that, or at least I tell people this story in LA, and they're like, what? You did what? You learned what? And I'm like, okay, we grew up in different worlds.
Never mind.
You grew up on a coast. Yeah. Like, you do not understand.
Yeah, it's true. I had a friend who, when she got pregnant, she was in college, and her in-laws offered her $25,000 a year to be a stay-at-home mom because she wanted to be a career woman. And she said no.
Offered her money
to stay at home, to be a stay-at-home mom. And she said, no, I want my career.
Yes, because by the way, $25,000 isn't going to cover.
Well,
yeah,
this was 1988.
Okay, all right. It's a little bit
old,
more.
Remember,
it's a little bit more.
Long time ago, but I remember going, what? They're offering you money not,
it's like out of a movie,
to work, not to pursue yourself, to stay at home and be a mom. And it caused, because she worked. She was like, I will not be doing that. I'm going to be an excellent mom, and I'm going to pursue my career. Preach. And she did that until her kids were like in high school, and life circumstances changed, and they had to move and all kind of stuff. And she was like, okay, I'm just going to retire early. But she had a 25-year career or 20-year career.
Awesome.
By the time she decided to kind of retire. But I was just flabbergasted, even for our generation, that happened. And It caused so many problems with her in-laws. Every single year they would re-up their offer. And she's like, no.
Also, how insane in-laws literally trying to control their lives.
And insulting.
And never letting it go. Like, oh, you can't possibly navigate. You can't possibly do this. Other people cannot see our vision.
True.
I believe God gives us individually a vision, imagination, visionary, whatever it is. And because we're trying to please, or because we're insecure, or because we have this vision that's so outlandish that we're like, oh, this is crazy, we tell other people hoping that they will validate the vision that we have. But the other people we're telling literally cannot see what we see. And I used to feel so sad and so frustrated, whether it was my ex-husband or in-laws or my family or whoever, that I would be like, they're not supporting, they don't. And it's like, of course they're not. You may as well tell them that you want to go train velociraptors at Jurassic Park. Like, this doesn't make any sense to a woman of that generation who doesn't know another author, doesn't know what a podcast is, doesn't know any of this world. She probably thought I was crazy.
Right. Looking back, and any of this you don't want to talk about, we can edit out.
Yeah.
But looking back, do you see things that you missed?
Yes.
You do.
All the time.
Does that break your heart?
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
For both
Rachel.
of us.
That would break my heart.
For both of us. I cannot tell you how much there would be these moments in time. And I've said this before on my podcast. You can definitely like leave this in. But you fucking know in your gut when something is wrong.
Yeah, you do.
You know. And I had no frame of reference for what I was seeing. I had no frame of reference for a high functioning alcoholic. I did not know what that looked like. I didn't even know that people hid alcohol, would secretly put it into drinks, would drink during the day. I had no frame of reference for that. So there would be these moments over the years. And we very publicly had talked about this sort of defining trip that we took as a family. My daughter's 6, and we took this trip when she was 3 months old. So it's been that long. But that we went on a trip as a family, and we went to Hawaii for 2 weeks. And we rented a house, and it was a whole thing. And it was right before Girl Wash Your Face came out. So I'd written this book, and I was in the final draft. He had not read it. And I had given it to, hey, if you want to read it on the trip, this is the book, it's coming out. And subsequently, I got violently ill. I got like a horrible flu, maybe the second day of this trip. And I was down. It was like the sickest I've ever been, where you're sitting on the toilet and holding a trash can. And I was down for like 3 days. And he was meant to take care of the kids. And, I could do literally nothing. And in that time period, he started reading Girl Wash Your Face. And I had written books before that. I'd written 5 books before, but that book is very distinctly different in that I was telling truth, in that I think even though we couldn't have imagined what it was going to be, I think we both knew it was going to be something. So he read that book, and he went and got a handle of Tito's. He got 2 handles of Tito's, and he drank a handle of Tito's in like 36 hours or less. And I didn't really understand until later that I got well, and I came out, and I found this empty, giant bottle of empty, there should be vodka in it. And I remember being like, what the fuck? And we had been having, for a while, I knew he was checked out. He wasn't as present. He was very unhappy with his work. Just all this stuff was happening. And I wasn't equating it to drinking. But when I found that empty bottle, which now I'm like, bitch, someone cannot drink that much vodka by themselves and still be functional if this is the first time having a drink.
Yeah, right.
So I I remember on that trip being like, I have to talk to him. This is really bad.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole next week and a half into the trip home, the whole time I'm praying, like, help me have this conversation with him in a way that he's going to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had never come to him and said, like, this is bad. Something's bad. And I obviously didn't know what. So we get back home and I told him, I said, I feel like I'm growing and I feel like you're staying the same or maybe even getting worse. Mm. And if I keep growing and if you keep on the trajectory that you're on, a year from now, we're not going to go on dates anymore. And 2 years from now, we're maybe not going to like each other. And 5 years from now, we're not going to be married. Mm. And I didn't know, I really did not know I was having a conversation just about how he was showing up.
Yeah.
But he knew, I now am fully aware that he knew then that it was about something else.
Right.
And that was the first time that I had addressed how he was showing up. You know, this whole thing started because you said, you look back and you know, yes. Mm-hmm. And I want to say that story because there are people listening to this mm-hmm. who are trying to figure out why something about their boyfriend's throwing, why are they feeling that weird way? Why is this? And maybe it's not the same scenario. Your intuition always knows when something's wrong and you have to listen to that.
And you have to speak up about it.
Yeah.
You have to not be afraid.
Yeah.
To me, you have to not be afraid for it to fall apart.
Yeah.
Because it might.
Yeah.
But what are you going to do? Sit in it? You have to be willing to let it fall apart.
Yeah.
Because if it doesn't fall apart, you're stronger for it.
Yeah.
And if it does, you're stronger for it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's the way it works.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, I don't know how things would be different because everything I think unfolds the way that it's supposed to.
100%. No, there's no
in
no
terms
regret.
Of like us, no longer being together.
Right. No regret, just lessons.
Yeah.
Right? That's what I wanted to know is when you look back, I don't expect anybody to look back and try to replay what they went through because that's a waste of time. Yeah. But what is not a waste of time is to look back and go, oh, look at these things that I now can learn and apply to now. Yeah. And look how good my intuition was. And
and that feeling, mm-hmm. I will never again ignore that feeling. It's very specific in my body that for the longest time I thought was anxiety. I thought the feeling I was feeling was anxiety. And I now understand, I do get anxiety, but I now understand that a lot of what I was feeling was my inner knowing fucking screaming at me. Right. This is not normal. This is not okay. Right. This is not how people behave. Right. That something's wrong. Right. And yeah, it's like that woulda, shoulda, coulda thing. But at the very least now I have learned the feeling and will honor that feeling in myself, even if I don't know what it means. That's the other thing mm-hmm. for people listening to this, that like you maybe will never know why it was wrong, but knowing that it was wrong is enough to end something with someone. Just in your gut, you're like, something about this makes me uncomfortable, makes me feel weird, and you've tried and you've talked and you can't resolve it. And I will stand by forever and ever that you might never know why it was the way it was, but you have to listen to your heart that says it's time. It's time.
Right.
It's time for you to go.
Yes. Yes, you do.
Yeah.
I agree with you. So I have 2 questions and then I'll let you go because I know you've been here a long time. Thank you.
I like to come to y'all's studio for at least 6 hours every
I know,
time.
right? Well, I don't mind. You can stay as long as you like. Your books, I've read this one and Girl Wash Your Face, and you talk so much about your marriage in your books. And I know you said just a few minutes ago, a lot of women in your community were like happy that you were talking about your divorce in that way. What was it like for you to have the opposite reaction? Because I'm sure you had some people who were like, what?
It was horrible.
I can't imagine how hard it would be for you.
Some people, not all people, but some people were so vicious about it. And I think the hardest thing for me was that people said that I was a liar. Because they were like, you pretended to love this person. You said you were best friends. You said all of these. And still to this day, that was my truth. He was my best friend. I was deeply in love. I did think he hung the moon. I didn't know the full story. And I guess maybe there's some beauty in that because we had some really beautiful, incredible times. We made 4 beautiful children that are in her family because of that relationship. I don't regret any of it. So for me, for good or bad, you've now sat with me in 2 interviews and shit just flies out of my mouth. I'm not very good at filtering or because I just am like, this is who I am, right? So that something about being a liar or that I presented myself in a way that isn't true destroys me. Because if anything, I don't know how to do that. If I was better at that, I wouldn't have gotten myself in trouble so many times. Like I wouldn't have put my foot in my mouth or said things I shouldn't have said. Like if I was better at that. So there's something about it that just was like devastating. That piece in the midst of all the things I was going through was so upsetting. And I felt, maybe this isn't true, but what I felt at the time was that people, because I said nothing and he very publicly talked about it constantly, how hurt he was and how I had left him, that people sided with him and like that I was this monster and he was this poor.
It's not fair.
It's not fair.
It's not fair.
And I knew the truth, but I publicly was not about to say, hey, these are the things that are happening. Because I was very protective of his image for our kids. And so I didn't say anything. And this is also real. The next time that forever that I see a couple go through a breakup and one of them is silent, it is because that person is trying to move on with their life. They're like, I'm going to put my head down. I'm going to do my therapy. I'm going to do my work. I'm trying to move on. The person who is the loudest is a person who is trying to be like, don't look at that. Just look over here. Look at this thing. So yeah, it was so upsetting. I don't know if you guys feel like this, but every year it's like 20 years pass. I mean, it's just like you look back on the things you've done and seen and the people you've met and what comes in and out and what you've gone through. It's September and just thinking of what you've gone through this year, what we've gone through this year, it's like, what a ride.
What a ride. Isn't
what
it fun?
What a fucking ride. Yeah.
Well, isn't it so much fun?
It is.
Do you think you'll write? What are you going to write about next?
So I actually have the first draft of the next book, which I'm excited about. I'm excited to dig back in and get the edits and do all the things I need to do. But this book is in the past. I have come to the writing table feeling like I had all the answers. And the last few years have taught me I don't fucking know anything. So this book I walked into, instead of going, hey, what are 25 chapters of answers? What if I asked 25 questions? So these are the questions in the course of my life that the answers have shifted everything. And potentially, if you were to ask yourself this question and be really honest about it, it might shift it for you too. And what I love about this idea is that I'm not telling you your truth.
Right.
I'm telling you, hey, asking myself this was really powerful. Here's a funny story about it that's going to make you chuckle. But if you were to unpack this, maybe it would mean something to you. So that's the next book.
That's amazing.
Yeah, which hopefully will come out next year. But
that's amazing.
Yeah.
I love that you did that.
Thanks.
Because that's funny you say that, because you are talking truth in here. And it's truth. So funny. I think I told you this on Bert's podcast. When I read Girl Wash Your Face, we did a book club about it here. And all 3 of us ladies were in our late 40s. And we were like, we kind of already know what's in this book.
Right.
But if I were 20-something, I would have loved this book.
Yeah.
Thank you for writing it. And I gave it to Georgia and all of her girlfriends when they went off to college.
So
I was
cool.
like, read it now. Read it again when you graduate.
Yeah.
because this is going to help you be like, oh, that mistake I made.
Yeah.
It's just like everybody else in their 20s. This is what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And I read this book going, there's a couple things I didn't even get to talk to you about in the book, but there were a couple things that I was like, oh, I'm totally changing the way I'm thinking about that. Your work-life balance.
Yeah. It's not a thing. It's not a thing.
Can I tell you how much relief I had when you said in the book, it's a myth?
Yeah.
I don't know if you were use that term, but I was like, and then you explained why that's a myth. My whole brain exploded.
Good.
And I went, I'm going to stop doing that.
Good.
I love my work.
Yeah.
I love driving my kid to school.
Yeah.
I love that I'm still a Girl Scout troop leader.
Yeah.
I love that I work out 3 days a week.
Yeah.
What the hell am I missing?
Yeah. It's like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
It's just things that exist to like sell magazines or get you to click on an article so that you can figure out how to do it better. But if it feels good to you, then done. That's the goal.
Exactly.
End of story.
And the things that you said that are important to you that keep you going.
Yeah.
I just went, oh, I'm not great at those things.
Right.
And those things are important to me too.
Right.
Like sleep.
Right.
Good diet.
Yeah.
Exercise.
Yeah.
Exercise is, I don't mess with my exercise.
It's key.
But I was like, sleep. I do not respect my sleep. Okay. So I'm not going to look for work-life balance. I'm going to look for how do I support this insane, amazing life that I live every day.
Yeah.
I need to get better sleep.
Yeah. And you are asking, both you and Bert, you're asking a ton of your body to be able to perform at this level.
Right.
And so in order to perform at this level, it's like, okay, well, we've got to have all these other things perfect because otherwise it's going to be impossible, or you're going to get sick, or something in your body is going to manifest because you're not taking care of yourself to the best of your ability.
To the best.
Sleep is like, sleep and movement, I think, are the most crucial things for human beings, especially when it comes to stress.
And
so
water.
Yeah.
Drink water.
Yeah.
Water.
No.
But yeah, I kept reading the book going, oh my God. I feel like we share a brain.
Good.
In a lot of areas, because a lot of this stuff I went, yep. This is great. Yep. I know who I am. I have no problem saying no. I got all these things. I was like, this is such great information for so many people. That work-life balance one kicked me in the butt. I loved it.
Good.
And choose one dream and go all in. I say that all the time.
Yeah.
You can't have everything. You can have everything, just not all at once.
Not all at the same time.
Not all at once.
Exactly.
But great book. I loved
Thank
Girl Stop
you.
Apologizing.
Thank
I love
you.
Girl Wash Your Face. And I can't wait for this new book.
Yeah. Next year.
It's going to be great.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Thanks for coming and talking to me.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
And it's nice to get to know you.
Yeah, agreed.
Really?
Yeah, I remember I told Kez when I left the last podcast, I was like, because you and I kept saying things, and obviously Bert's amazing, but he's Bert, right?
Yeah.
And so he would jump to subjects, and I'd be like, wait, Leanne just said something really, I want to dig into what you just said, but we'd be on another topic talking about dogs and looking at the screen.
Yeah, you mean ADHD, man?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I was like, oh, good. I'm glad that we just get to sit down and go wherever we want in depth.
I know. Jokingly downstairs, I said to Christine, I was like, what am I going to talk to her about? Like, I was kicking around trying to just kind of figure out what I had thought. And she was like, well, maybe intrinsic value.
Yeah.
Because that came up a lot with Bert. And I was like, oh my God, we totally never talked about it.
We didn't.
It was in my little back pocket. I was like, we could get to that if we need to. But when the podcast was finished, Bert was like, I just love her.
Aww.
She's so great.
Thanks.
And I was like, you know what's funny is that you and I very much speak the same language.
Yeah, we do. We do.
In a lot of ways. And we came from that kind of pull yourself by the bootstraps,
100%.
Figure out what's not making you happy.
Yeah.
How do you change it and muscle that shit into reality in the same way? And I was like, it's not a coincidence to me that you really connected with Rachel right away. Because
we're the same.
Because we're very similar people. And it was really nice to talk to you today. Thank you so much. Thank you. So I'll see you again sometime?
Yeah, absolutely.
Please. Yeah, I would love that. Thank you.